We are live, trying out a couple of tricks today
Yeah, boy.
and showing off my Spotify. Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening, good morning, wherever it is you are tuning in from. You are live with Scheze and RT, Bitcoin Bravado with the correction.
We're here to make crypto less cryptic. Am I right?
That's right. We're going to fill you in on a few of our current ideas in the market. We've been doing our thing all week, analysis and whatnot. Scheze is going to catch us up with his paper trade paradise entry from last week,
Absolutely.
which, if I am not mistaken, is doing quite well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One second. Let me get my screen share.
Almost a perfect stop loss in that it got skinned but not touched.
Almost, yes.
But an excellent looking entry. And if you zoom out, I'll tell you, it's a pretty good one. But before he gets into that, spoiler, we also just want to talk to you a little bit today about what you might want to do if you are looking to vet a new setup, and talking maybe a little generally about what setups are and why traders use them.
Absolutely.
So we will start us off with Paper Trade Paradise starring Scheze, baby.
All righty, baby. Can you see my screen?
I can.
All right. This is good. This is good. All right. So basically, we drew some meme lines a while back. These yellow lines, it had already broken up. Closed above this blue line. That's what made us want to go long on a retest of supports down in this general area here. And this is on the daily time frames. So what we did is we set our orders at 335 Paper Trade Paradise. Our account balance started with $1,000. So we went in almost all the way on this account with a 4.17% risk on the account on the full balance. And so put our entry as 6,000 A on or at 335 sats, and thought the train was going to leave the station without us here, RT, because you were in on the trade at this point with real money, and you were like, it's time to go. And I left my Paper Trade Paradise orders alone. I said, I'm going to wait and see what plays out. 2 days later, it wicks down, picks us up, and almost stops us right out. That would have been the saddest time in our short-lived Paper Trade Paradise here. But we took off, came back, retested our entry once more a few days ago, and now we're at liftoff. So far, we're up $145 on USD value. And so that's about a 15% ROI on the account already. And as you can see, we're not planning on taking any profits till we get much higher here. Overall, this is just a solid now. Wait and see.
I feel like that entry, given where it is and stop, leave it alone. Probably safe if this thing's bullish.
Yes. Eventually, depending on how we kind of react, you see where these wicks are, right up in this general area of here. So you can see that the price has had trouble getting through here. So depending on what price does when it gets up around 450 sats, we'll probably go ahead and move this up a few ticks above our stop loss, because here's the thing. If we start to get back below our entry here, I don't really see any other supports between where it's already went to now and kind of lower around the 309 area, at least on the daily candles. So there may be some lower time frame stuff. But as you can see, we came within one sat, a few sats anyway, 2 sats of being stopped out completely before the train ever left the station. So depending on how price reacts up here between 450 and let's call it 490, we'll probably look at taking at least protecting, covering in the chance that it just dumps from there.
Yeah, and if you look at it sort of like on that zoomed out look, you're almost kind of testing a neckline right now.
Right.
So I mean, it's trying to break out. It's just sort of got rejected so far. We'll know a lot more on the daily close in about 2 hours. If it stays below that line, if it stays below there for this daily close, I imagine we might get a visit down to that green line.
Yes.
Which could provide an entry for, might add. This particular paper trade account is all in, so to speak, because it was a low risk play. So we could still get away with under 5% risk on the account. For myself, I mean, you all may have noticed in the background, I've got an Aon shirt right there. Like, I'm a big old fan of that one.
He is a fanboy.
Since the ICO. So, I mean, I got a bag, but I've had a bag and I'm not getting rid of it until about 2022. And that's, I got
That's a
gold.
long way off.
Yeah, I got
Yes,
gold.
sir.
I'm not touching that bag, but I would like to make a trade on it just in the meantime. Have a little fun with it because bags are a little.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Well, that's a nice start. Remember at first,
Yeah, we're going good.
Yeah. No, it's better than taking a loss to start, but it happens. Remember I was saying that we thought we were going to get stopped
on our
with
very first trade within the
yeah.
paradise.
Yeah,
We're coming out guns blazing here.
Exactly. So look, let me see if I can transition us into a little idea that I've been setting up this week.
All right, let's see it.
Yeah, I've got example 1, I've got example 2, potential 3, and I bet we could spot another example. They're everywhere right now, and I'm noticing a pattern, and I'm vetting a setup. So let me share with y'all my screen here, and I will try to fill you in on sort of how I am vetting this thing. There it is. Chrome. Yeah. Okay. All right. We seeing it?
I am not seeing any shares yet.
You sure about that?
I see you, and then I see myself.
Oh, there we go. I just had to move it a bit. It's weird. All right. So we're activated here, and okay, this is the play. And excuse if I'm a little choppy with my explanation because I really am just getting into this idea. But here's what I'm seeing in the market. We're getting a lot of these breakouts from consolidation patterns on high volume, right? And it's easy to FOMO and check the daily gainers and try to chase. It's also easy to stay and wait for the retrace. And then the question is, well, was that just a pump? Because we saw those like this. And then what, are you going to go back down and consolidate? You don't know, right? But what I'm noticing is that there is an awful lot of sort of echo pumps coming right after, sort of like a wick that ends up not making a new high, but just comes up into this short reload zone that we talked about last week on the show with the way that I've been using the fib. So here's the idea. And so that's the daily. And this is just an example off Datacoin, which actually we'll talk about a little later. We got some ideas about where this might be headed. But here's the idea. Because we're thinking like for all these midterm trades, and we're likely entering a cycle of the market that is going to be choppy, right? You get a bull, the bear tends to come pretty aggressive and quick. There's maybe some distribution going on levels on the way down, but it's not, you're not going to get like a 2-year consolidation on a 20K top. It's take your money and run status, right? Whereas the reverse transition, when you're going from a bear cycle up to a new bull cycle, it doesn't happen so quickly, right? You don't just go parabolic.
Levels of previous support that should now act as resistance. Now,
exactly, and you
doesn't always work that way. Take a look at RVN, right? It just blew right through every resistance that it could. So,
well, and that's also, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say new coin, but it's fairly new. It doesn't have as much price history, so like it's a little bit more sort of, but generally speaking, you're gonna get a chop. I guess if we were to pull up sort of an old, let's just do it because I'll see what I'm talking about. A visual is always nice. I'm not going to look at mine because it's all covered in lines. Distracting. So let's say stamp. Bitcoin stamp. Where is it? Nah, screw that. We'll go to Finex. All right. So if you look here, let's just even say the weekly. Looking back to 2014 market, we had a big move up. I mean, and this might not be news for a lot of guys. You're like, I know how Americans are, okay, but just for anyone who's learning this stuff, you're going to get these parabolic moves up in Bitcoin when this sharp bull. It's happened before, probably going to happen again. Never know. And then on the way down, and then you just get this chop Vegas or chop city kind of going on where it's like, oh, we're going up. No, we're not. Sell everything. Oh, we're going up. Oh, new lows. Oh my God, this was like your final sort of capitulation there back in 2014, 2015. Right. And then it's grow slowly, right? And then the angle gets steeper and steeper. And then you get into something Brand new. So right here, obviously, and of course, anything can happen. No one's a wizard, but I would imagine we are not going parabolic right here. We're going to have to, up, down, up, down, up, down for maybe a year, 8 months. So in all that time, you may not want to buy an altcoin and just hold it hoping for new highs. There's probably going to be some great gains to be had before going right back to your entry or even another low. So these midterms sort of like, well, I think alts are going to go up for 4 months, but do you really want to risk all the gains you're making in month one, just in case?
Right.
Personally, some of my positions are midterm. Some of them, I'm going to try this new setup that's a little bit more short term. And here's what it is. Sorry, that was like the longest intro to this idea. And that's what happens when you haven't fully worked out an idea yet. It's hard to explain it concisely. So here we go. I'm noticing a lot of this pattern, and I plan to start trading it, but I'm not trading it today. I'm vetting it. So when you have a new setup idea, what you want for a proper setup is a set of distinct and sort of quantifiable criteria, ideally, like when this happens, when that happens, when this happens, I will do exactly this. And if it's reliable and consistent and valid like that, then over time you can just mathematically vet it. And you say, okay, I'm going to do this 20 times. I'm going to find this setup 20 times, and I want to hit at least 2-to-1 risk reward ratio. So winning twice as much as I'm losing on the times I lose. And you want to do that at least a 66% hit rate. Right. So if I'm right 66 times out of 100 and I'm getting twice as much when I'm right as I am when I'm wrong, like that's a great setup. You should keep that one and just hunt it. Right.
Right.
So that's the vetting process. And you may not know if a new setup is going to work. So ideally you're paper trading it. That's why those kind of programs exist. You paper trade. Anyways, long story short, this is the setup. You get your breakout on volume. Then you draw a fib. Okay. So let me draw a fib. No need for this div. Okay, so let's see. We've got the 1 hour chart here on data. The other day, after a nice long consolidation, it broke out. So you draw your fib. Bottom of the move, top of the move. Okay, now it drops back in this case, below this RLZ. You may zoom out and decide to play with the RLZ a bit. Do you want to start from this move? Or on a higher time frame, I believe I started this on the 4 hour. Yeah, so you end up with the full move from bottom to top of the range. That looks a little bit more promising.
Right.
And it's not less valid. I mean, technically you are supposed to drop from the very bottom to the very top. In some cases, you can play with these, find out what's kind of getting the most play. So in this case, we've dropped into the reload zone, as I call it, or the Goldilocks zone. And that's where you're going to find the buyers stepping in all the time, not 100% of the time, but very often. So they've stepped in, okay? But here's what I want to do. I want to make profit in this range before new highs. And I'm noticing a lot of these wicks are jumping up into the short reload zone. So you draw it upside down. And you draw it from the top. I'm pointing like my fingers on the screen. You draw it from the top. Yeah, you draw it from the top of the move down, and you drag it so that the bottom is where the pivot low was. So in this case, price came down, chop, 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 dropped a little further, made this wick actually right off my 30 MA there, and then moved up. Okay, so that is the bottom of this sort of impulse back down. Okay, so that's our fib. And look at this. Price spiked right up into that 618 area. That's where I want to be making a trade. So in other words, breakout on volume, retrace into the RLZ, you buy, you long, you set your stop probably below the previous move low. So like somewhere around here. Again, still working out the details. Then you buy, stop down here, and then you set your sells right up here in the 618. And as time goes on, as it's consolidating, it's going to get a couple of these little sort of, are we going back? No. Are we going back? No. And there's people smacking it down right around this area. That's a pretty sweet little setup, right? I mean, you don't have to necessarily catch something before it breaks out. You're actually catching it after it breaks out. So you could be going along charting all the Binance coins. I have a nice little watch list, and you're vetting it. And you set alerts just above consolidation areas. When it breaks out, you're like, okay, we're live. You wait for that first initial breakout to die. You hunt the entry down in this reload zone, and then you instantly set your sells right up here inside of this little range it's created. And look at this. Let's see what we're making here. I mean, that was like 8 hours later. Long it off the 786, and you got yourself 40%. And to be fair, because sometimes it doesn't go to that exact level or even the sweet spot. And like, look, if we were trading this 702 here, we would have got front run. We wouldn't have made anything. So I'd say you could even just front run this RLZ a little bit, 35%. Boom. And if you want to look at the risk reward on something like that, okay, so you long 786, you sell it right here. You got your stop somewhere down here. I'd say maybe just below this 200 moving average, just to be safe on a 4-hour time frame. There you got 7%. That's a 5 RR, almost 5.5.
So
now you might say,
what
well,
you're
okay.
looking for is how can you FOMO safely into something that's already pumped? And this is basically the proper way to do that.
Yeah. Well, and in general, this is what I've been doing. Like not this setup, but like, I see something break out on volume and I say, oh, sick, my favorite coin's back. It's, it's ready to go. And then I'll try to get in on it, on its little retrace, right? We do that a lot in the Discord, talking about longing, like a breakout, and then we long the neckline, the retest,
Right.
SR. Pretty standard stuff, SR flip kind of stuff. But anyways, I just got thinking about this today because we were talking about having some more short-term trade ideas. And it occurred to me that I'd been seeing a lot of these sort of consolidation sort of follow-up pumps. Now, if you look here, another example on VTC, that's a little more long-term, but same kind of thing. Nice big breakout on volume, comes back down. This is a daily, so keep in mind this was like a month, so not quite as sexy, but same thing, right? Chilling down here, 786, getting all kinds of love. A stop below that 200 MA would have held, nothing touched it. And sure enough, bam, right into that spot. And it didn't make new highs. It's still consolidating or whatever. But look at that, 62%. Front run that level, part of the setup, 50%.
All righty. So let's do this live. Clear. Get back here. Let's pretend that first pump didn't happen. Based off this second pump here, where would we be looking, right? Because basically what's going to happen is you're looking to play the contained moves at this point, right? So the pump has already happened. We're looking, okay, where can we play another pump to? So based off the pump that just happened, it was like 2 weeks ago. Yes, that pump there.
Okay, yeah.
Because I'm imagining a few days ago we wicked it down into what would be the RLZ of that move, right?
Yeah, actually we're sitting in a new one if you think about it. Yeah, let's get rid of that. Okay, I see where you're going with this. I see what you're doing to me.
See what I'm doing here?
Yeah, okay. So yeah, we're gonna find our low. Let's call it here, and we're up to the high. Yep, and look at that. We're just chilling in the right. I mean, this stuff. I tell you why I love these fits. I've tried to learn the whole
reason they work, right?
And order blocks. I've tried to learn that stuff, not too hard, but I looked at it and it was never as intuitive to me. As soon as someone told me, drag that fib, check that zone, buy it there, sell here, like I was like, oh,
right.
I mean, it's not that simple, but that's the base.
All right, so we're in the RLZ now. So based upon that, where would we be targeting? If we're just going to try to play this containment.
Yeah, so we'd have a short RLZ starting at the top, drag it down, line it up with this bottom that was put in after the pump. So it went down.
Yep.
This was the lowest it went. It, of course, has not even gone close to this 200 moving average, which is pretty far. I wouldn't stop down there. That's pretty loose, but
it's pretty steep. So
that's too steep.
That's negative R. You don't want to do that. So one thing that you could do is, right, because now we're trying to, in a sense, we're looking for a third pump, right? So, which is even going to be a smaller contained move. And so you could look to use other MAs as a tighter stop. Well, I don't know which one is right below.
Well, I mean, for me, since it is consolidating in the upper half of this RLZ and it's getting a lot of respect to this sweet spot, this halfway point between the two, 618 and 786, I'd say I'd be comfortable stopping just below here.
Just below that spot.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
getting another moving average of protection. That's actually the 30. A lot of people use the 50. I was taught to use the 30. It's a little bit cozier, stays closer to the price. But yeah, so there's 11%. You're still getting a 2, perfect 2 RR. Not as juicy, but again, this is like a move within a move. It's almost like those little
Right.
Russian dolls, where the little one comes out, the little one comes out.
They get
I mean, and
smaller and
that's
smaller.
that's the
Absolutely.
nature of consolidation, right? We're coiling. So
Yeah.
obviously, if you're trying to get it on sort of wave 2, you're going to get a smaller move. So maybe this setup is going to be called, like we're just doing the first big move.
Right. Right.
But hey, if the second one works, right? Pump your bags. You could get real cheeky and do this, or just wait to buy it here. Say I'm only getting in if it hits the 7. I mean, technically we would have
Technically,
got
already
in.
did. Right.
Yeah,
So.
I think personally I wouldn't have gotten in any higher than this 702. So
Right. Especially being such a smaller move. So.
yeah, you're looking at a smaller move already. So then you're here. Well, now you're up to 3.5. Actually more, 4. So that just doubled the RR by having a good entry. That's why good entries are key.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't buy this because it's either breaking out, whatever, but it's also very much possibly just dipping down. So there's another one here. Now there's tons of examples like this. I pulled up those two. I'm noticing a lot on these breakouts that we're seeing. Here's one that might be yet to come. This is sort of like a vet move that I'm trying, like not veteran, like vetting this process, so I'm testing it here. So I think it could happen here. I'll show you how you might go about drawing it. You just need 2 fibs. We can get rid of that and these and simplify the chart. So we would start with the very bottom. I mean, you could really get cheeky and go down, but I feel like this consolidated into its own like next thing. So here's your move. You're going up. And look at that. Price is coming down. Often does. And now, here's the problem with this. I don't think we're at the bottom of this move after. It's a little premature. So, like, I would draw this fib here, but I think price may come down. And obviously, if that's the case, you have to stretch your fib. The bottom end of this next fib, this short reload fib, needs to be drawn to wherever this bottoms. So it's got a little time. What I would do now if I wanted to get in on this, but I'm not ready, is I might set an alert here. I might set an alert maybe on the 702 or just below. Mm-hmm. And then wherever it kind of decides to change direction or stop or pivot, I'd say it's going to dump. I'd say it's at least touching this MA. So we get it right there. Just say it's here. Okay. So let's draw it for fun. Price comes right down, tags that, chills here for a little bit, whatever. Okay. So now you say, okay, well, here's the pivot low. I've drawn this. And you hunt your setup off it. So that would be to below this. Now, of course, if it comes right along here, we'll get, we'll get a little looser. Like if you're entering down here, you can run your stop a little lower. If you're going to enter north of the 702 and it's kind of chilling up there, you probably want to just stop below here. But look at this. What is that? 29%? 3.5, right? And you may not have to wait long. That's sort of the attraction. That's why I was thinking of this setup, because now we can go through this, chop, like maybe we're moving up here, 6K resistance, blah, blah, blah. We come down, maybe one final little move, and we're doing all this chop while altcoins, I would say, are not likely to go and break all these raunchy old highs they had from like I just don't see it. I don't see, the 2018 highs getting broken before, we get out of this like consolidation.
Some of them have. So,
well, which one?
BNB for starters. RVN.
BNB didn't break its USD.
Okay, so it didn't break USD value, but it did break Bitcoin value.
But it all, yeah, no, and okay, you found the one goddamn coin in the whole universe.
I was trying to short it. So.
BNB also never went into a bear. It had utilities all the way through.
Lost major support.
It had proper value as opposed to like speculative.
Correct.
People were using it. So I, me, I love BNB. Don't own Well, I own like 3 for trading, trade fees. That's it.
That trading fees taken care of there.
Bag is long gone, sadly, but that's okay. So, yeah. Anyways, this is just an idea. I'm vetting it. We're gonna see how it goes with Enigma here. And look, if Enigma chills down in here for a bit, it could go on a huge run. But my guess is before any sustained breakout is going to come up here and touch this one more time. I'm noticing you get a lot of these where it comes up, gets kind of rejected. Let's see. Oh, you know which one's been doing it a lot? This is where I remember seeing this a lot too. Look at Power.
Look at this.
Power. Look at Power. Look at this thing. So Power broke out, January, kind of before the bull. It kind of led the way. Came down here. Ding, 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 ding. And I'm guessing that these wicks are at that RLZ. Look at that. Perfect touch. 702. That's what I'm talking about. So this is exactly
a crystal ball.
Yeah, this is the fib crystal ball. So, okay. I love that shit when it's live on the air and you're just like, perfect example.
Absolutely.
And look at that. So again, let's see. Maybe it's coming down here. You're getting your entry once it reclaims this 786. You're safe. Risk to those lows. Stretch it up to your RLZ. Even front run it because we're being super safe. 6.5 RR. I like that. I like that setup. And what was the timeline here?
It's like about 3 weeks or so, 4 weeks.
Yeah, bottom. Okay. So like from the impulse move. Yeah, I mean, whatever, but we're not getting in there. So as far as like in and out of the trade, maybe you're
about a week, 2 weeks.
Yeah, a couple weeks. I mean, even if you got in here, because who's to say we would have caught it perfectly when it was done doing that?
Right.
Maybe we're here. Maybe we're here. Here. Yeah, 99 bars. But a bitch ain't one. Okay.
There it is.
I had to. Love Jay-Z. All right. So, anyways, I've said enough.
All right.
This is what I'm looking at.
That is, I mean, let's track that. Let's see how that does.
Better believe it, bud. If this turns into a thing that I like, you're going to hear about it. And we're going to
tell you what, we might have to put our boy Jackie on that to create us a bot, RLZ to RLZ.
Well, and that's what, we were talking about that before the show. I bet that this is an algo already, right?
I mean, bots it makes a lot of sense.
Spot breakouts, long the 786s below, and then sell on the 618s right back above. I mean, that's probably why the price behaves this way, because bots are already doing this.
Yeah, they're ahead of us, man. They're smarter than us.
Program our own bot.
We're gonna call it the RT bot.
Hell yeah!
This has a sweet name. All right, let's. I'm gonna.
Oh, spoiler.
I'm going to share my screen here. We're going to. I was gonna look for some setups to take some altcoin setups, and I might. But first, I want to do a review of good old Bitcoin. Okay, a lot of people aren't quite sure which direction Bitcoin's gonna head, and I'm not sure I know either. But here's what I do know. We haven't lost major support yet. So this is the daily candles. Okay. So to you say, well, what made you go long eventually? Because Bravado as a group was long way back in December area. And here's why. This is a major spot of real support, right? So this is Bitcoin is selling off from the 6,300s all the way down to 3,500. So huge decrease. It found some support at 51, 53, somewhere in that area for a day or so. It came back down here, but it wasn't until we got down all the way down to 3,500 that we had a significant bounce up. And again, people were calling bottom is in, but it wasn't quite yet. You never really regained support up in this area here around the 4,400s. You actually just wicked it, and then you just kept on heading down. And so we found support on the 7th of December around 3,200, seen a bounce up. Again, never really regained anything major because it would have to go all the way up here to 4,400. So it didn't make it, so down we go lower. And so right here, this spot right here. So again, this bottom white line is super important, and here's why. So major support there, come down, resistance here, sends us to a new low. And then on the 17th of December, I don't even think we closed above it. this spot here. We didn't. So, but the next day we did. And so this is a huge indication. So RT mentioned earlier an SR flip, and that's just a support and resistance flipping. It's flipping what it was. So here it flipped to resistance. Here we closed above it, and look, support. Held us for multiple days, 2 weeks or so here. Kind of fell below it and then shot back up through it. And again, the longer you hang out in a certain price action, in a certain price level, that just means there's a ton of volume being traded there, right? It's compressing, consolidating, or distributing, depending on which side of the trend you're on.
You can actually see that on the VPVR. I know you don't use that indicator,
Right.
but it's.
But that just means more volume is being traded at this spot than, say, up here in the 5500s, even up here. Of course, now there's probably the Vipers probably showing in this general area the 4000 as being spot. So we were actually began to be bullish back in mid-December. So that's when we've really started to look at alts and figure out, okay, what's going to pump now that Bitcoin has kind of flipped a little bit, it's found some support. And so just to name a few, KMD we started looking at, OMG we started looking at, ADA recently we started looking at, Power I think we're in.
Power we've been for a long time. It's been consolidating slowly.
So we just started killing it at that point. But we're starting to get to this area. Okay, so now the next level of significance is really where we're at right now, this 4,000 level price action. And look, here you have support, right? And then here's the thing. All of these spots where it was previous support will now be areas of interest as we kind of retrace and go back up. So here we are. We never really lost anything major. There are still some levels down here we could come test down this general area, 3280s, 3260, as I always like to say. And so it's right now it's in my opinion, it's kind of a coin toss at this point. You could say we lost this general support at 3860 on the daily candle on this, this giant impulse move down. So to remain bullish, what we need to do, we really need to see a gain above this general area here. We need to get some daily closes up above 4,300 to really remain in this bullish state. Now, that's not to say we could hang out here in the 4,000 areas, all the way till summer.
Yeah.
In which case, we will continue to call alts. We will continue to be flipping.
You know what?
Bags.
It's going to be so good for alts if Bitcoin just keeps chilling.
Absolutely.
I don't think it will because I just, it's coiling. It's got to move. I think it's going to move up. Not new highs, but we're going to close that gap above. I was chatting with Jack late last night, and he basically convinced me to be on the long side here. And I got to say, I'm with him. And yeah, the more volatile Bitcoin gets, the shakier alts get. So I'm cool with it. Just
so short term. So that's on the daily. Zooming in on the hourly chart here. What's always interesting to me is you always want to look left to know where price is going right. Correct. So to look, if you want to know where you're going, look to the left is what they always say. And one thing to pay particular attention to is, and not a lot of traders even kind of know this or realize it or pay much attention to it at all. But these candles, these doji candles, right? Look at this. So what does a doji candle represent?
Indecision.
Indecision. It represents on smaller time frames coiling of price action, right? It's volume. It's concentrated volume. And so here you have this hour candle. And so all I did originally, I had the box drawn a little tighter from the top to the bottom. And this actually goes a lot with like Don's order blocks. I know he looks at these a lot for those. But if you just draw this here, a little too short there, but somewhere in this general area, just kind of box it around. That's going to be areas of pivots. That's going to be areas of importance. So here we wicked off of it, bounced up, and again, continue to hold even here. And then even right before it fell off to make new lows, it was still holding. And then on the flip side, now resistance. And then once we broke through that, we're up and above. So to remain bullish, we really need to get above, in the very short term, we need to get above, 4070, 4065 area, or else now that this level is all, I would say, sufficiently tested, I don't see a whole lot holding us up here from a larger move down, say down into 37s, ultimately 35, and
Which
30.
is where a lot of people are looking. I almost think there's so much attention on the 35, 37 area that it just seems too good to be true that it would just go right to where we're looking. But
yeah,
but
on some higher time frames, we haven't really gained anything. Let me just clear the chart, as I often love to do. This is the weekly, right? And so we didn't find any support on the week. And again, the higher time frame, the more important. So why was that one area so important? Is because we found support on the weekly around 3,400. We really need to get above. And again, this is, I kind of already mentioned it, that 4,400 to kind of go up here and kind of test some of this area that we've lost support on now to be resistance, and that may send us down to new lows.
That naked weekly, just you see 5 green candles in a row, you're like, damn,
right,
we're due. But I mean, that might just be the disbelief, the bearishness, flooding.
We've been in the bear market so long, we don't know what else to do.
Yeah, it's like it's got to go red sometime, like roulette wheels and shit. Black. Red is due. I mean, we'll find out. I think we better leave it tonight with a quick alt call of some kind. Not a call like, I'm a market wizard, but what are you looking at right now? I've got one up that I already showed tonight, but in a different context.
Sure.
We could pull it out. It's an old favorite of mine. Or what do you got? Do you got something burning that you want to share?
So I've been saying, so I called ADA a while back. I still think that one's going to go. Let me just peep the chart real quick. And I can't remember if I called last week, but yeah, look at this thing. Just massive. Put this in the Discord.
You're giving me FOMO, bro.
Back in, I think it was like 1,200 areas, somewhere around there. And again, as you can see, I've had these lines drawn for a while now, just doing as expected things. So I don't know that I would buy right here at this. This is a weekly area of resistance. I try not to buy resistances.
All right, I'm going to fire one up right here. You're right, though. I want in on ADAD long term. ADHD. I want in on ADA long term, but I can't.
Going long right now?
Nope, can't buy it. You know me.
Good, man. Wait.
Overbought on all the mid-lower time frames, and I'm just gonna wait. And if I miss it, I miss it. I don't care. Right. Let me show you something real quick because we are at the 40-minute mark. I'm gonna share. We were actually just talking about this, but now more in a context of sort of how I'm trading it. So, like for that setup, this already had a little pump on the lower time frames, but from the zoom out, I've been watching and waiting for data for quite a while. During all this hype, it's been pretty boring, but it just broke out the other day, and it's broken out, as you can see, on huge volume relative to its usual volume. It's still kind of low. I think it was 2,000 Bitcoin on the day, so not like RVN style. But if you look into Data Streamer, it's one that I've been following for a long time. They are an incredibly powerful little project, partnering with HP, Hewlett Packard, with their data marketplace features, and they are exploring. I mean, I'm not up to date on all the latest FA, but last I checked, they were exploring smart cars using their data to provide sort of weather and traffic data to this marketplace that then companies could go and buy, and it's all functioning on this data coin. So, I mean, it's pretty exciting stuff. FA point of view, I basically don't go back and check because I've already given it my little gold seal. And if you look here on the chart, it has almost given us a full retrace. It's not very often you get a coin you like, breaks out on volume. You're like, no, I missed it. And then it comes right back down to where you probably should have bought or wanted to buy. So I bought a little bit this week at 350, or 550. So it's actually right at my entry still. It's been chopping around in my entry if we zoom in a bit. So I am officially suggesting that this thing is looking good. And it is in, it's got my criteria covered, right? I like to go long when it's down in these levels, and that's right where it is. So me being a big fanboy of this coin, I don't know if I would run with a stop right now.
It's got a lot of room to work, doesn't it?
It's got a lot more room to the upside, and I didn't buy like a massive bag. So if it goes down, I don't really want to sell a dump as much as maybe add and average down a bit. For a more midterm setup. Yeah, we'll see. I think this one,
that's a good accumulation cycle there.
Yeah. Now this, I'm gonna ignore this wick right here because I know this was a pump and dump group. I investigated that day, and like a guy came into their thing, and he's like, "Yeah, I was in a group, and they just announced a big dump or pump on it." So I'm gonna ignore that wick as far as like a retrace goes. But like if we go here, we've got some upside here. This is just Binance listing. It was listed, I believe, on Finex first, so there'll be more history there. But
More history.
noticed. Yep. Yeah, we got some room to work, as they say. 191, 200. I mean, just to get back up to like even the GAN level, 50%, you're looking at 151. So that's my idea. I will be long on data.
That's beautiful, man.
For the spring. Yeah, this is my Q2 play of the day. And we'll come back and check in on that. Let's say 550 is the entry that I would take that or anything under.
550 it is. He's in it.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, manage your risk. If anyone was ever considering trading anything, they've got to have a defined stop loss or making a very small entry so that you can average down.
Absolutely.
I'd say.
All righty. Any other info we need to give these people?
16% to the downside. Nope. I think we're good to go. We'll see how that trade setup vet goes. I'll have more info next week. I'll probably have decided if it's good or not next week. Check in on your paper trade next week, and maybe you could share a little more about your levels. Because I got to say, I've started turning to you now in the Discord. I'm like, geez, I got an idea. Can you just check your levels?
Tell me if I'm. And it's always nice when we have confluence, right?
That's what. Yeah, because
line up with my levels.
I got roasted on that EOS short, and then you're like, oh yeah, no, you see, you lost this level here, so it was like no good. I was like, oh, I wish I asked you before. So yeah,
it's all right, man.
Fancy lines, but anyways, all right, ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful week and weekend, and hopefully you are all staying safe out there and playing and having a little fun in the markets
next week.
Take care, everybody. I think that's
still live.
Yeah, I stopped the share.